All right, what's going on, my bariatric family? This your boy Jay for another episode of Bariatric Uncut, where we're going to be talking about some uncut conversations about the our bariatric surgery and our journey. And today, my guest is Aaron Kirby. Aaron, I'm glad to have you on the show. And
Glad to be here, Jay.
yeah, so just tell us a little bit about yourself in the beginning. What's your profession, the type of procedure you had, and your weight goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a retired police officer. Been retired here a few years, but I ended up starting my own business. I now have a hockey rink here, a seasonal rink. So that's pretty much hockey full time in the winter. 51 years old. I've been married 29 years, 4 kids, all out of the house, and just trying to learn how to communicate better with the wife now that the kids aren't around. And I guess, I never was really heavy. I mean, in high school, I was your typical, football and hockey player, 200, 9% body fat, really fit, in the gym all the time. And then, unfortunately, cop life, you sit in a squad and you hit every drive through you can. And next thing I know, I'm, pushing 250, 260, 270.
Sure.
My highest weight was right around 318. I'm 6 foot tall. And it just got to the point where I was tired all the time and just was sick of being who I was. And there's a long history of health conditions in my side of the family. My dad's with diabetes and heart disease, and I just finally said, let's do it. Let's get it done. So it was a year on January 27th. So I had the sleeve performed January 27th of 2023. My surgical weight was 289 pounds. And now a year later, I'm at right around 227 to 232. It just kind of depends on the week and what's going on.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, when you was getting ready to go through with the procedure, did you have a good team to let you know what was going on? Did anybody was letting you know what to expect? How was your process going into it?
Well, it was the typical frustrating process like we hear and we read about online, and all these different chat groups that we're all on now. And it took about 11 months for the insurance to finally approve, but it was to the point where my surgery was scheduled for the 27th, and on the 26th they still had not approved it. So when I showed up to the hospital on the 27th, I didn't even know 100% if it was going to happen. So it was extremely frustrating, like you hear all the time. But during that process, the nutritionist and everything leading up to it, with the psychological evaluation and the counseling, I think you kind of at first think it's a waste of time.
Yes.
I got to do all this crap, but after the fact, you realize that what they're trying to do is just get you mentally ready, because you
Yes.
think you're physically ready, but the mental side of it after the fact is brutal. I mean,
It is.
so I think that helped me tremendously. Unfortunately, it took a while, but I think it was for my better good in the long run. Just
Yeah.
getting mentally prepared. That's the toughest part, I think.
Yeah, it is because like with me, I was following this doctor on YouTube named Dr. Wong, and he was one of the guys that was just straight to the point, and he said something that resonated with me. He said, "You just it's mind over matter. You have to get in that mindset before you go under that knife, because once you come from under it, that's really where the mental capacity is going to kick in. At
Yeah.
that's where a lot of people fail. They try to get into that mind state after they have the surgery, and that's where a lot of them end up failing. You
Yeah.
know,
Very true. Very true.
yeah, yeah. And so like with me, I kind of had the same issue with the insurance, and I say it's a long story, but just kind of in the nutshell, when I was mine at first it was scheduled back in 2021, And when I was getting ready to, because at first my insurance didn't cover it at all. So I had the Louisiana Medicaid, and then I had to get a loan. But in August, no, September, when I was getting ready to have the surgery, my insurance had kicked in the day before. That day when I was going up there for the surgery, they were like, Jay, we got a problem here. They your insurance then took over. They say they're not going to pay for it. And I said, my insurance, I wasn't dealing with my insurance to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, and then the Medicaid say, well, because we only paid the second half, they not gonna pay it, so we not gonna pay it. So I was left in limbo. And eventually they ended up coming through. They came through in 2023 because they paid for everything 100%. But man, it was a frustrating process.
And
Yeah,
and unfortunately, that's the process that so many people wanting to go through this for a lot of different reasons. Health wise, people need this procedure,
yeah,
and when you got to wait and struggle and make phone calls, it just adds to all the depression and everything else and aggravation, and
yeah, real talk.
it's tough, man.
Yeah, and see, and another thing, like, and I'm pretty sure you probably had this situation too, like, after having the operation, and then say, right, like we have to go to the ER, we have a doctor's visit, and they want to prescribe us certain medicines. A lot of them, we tell them, hey, we just had this surgery, but a lot of them, they not. I'm not going to say they not smart up to it, but they just novice. They really don't have enough knowledge about the surgery. And so when they give us those prescriptions, like some of the medicines we can't take, and I'll be like, I just take the prescription and I just take it to my doctor. Hey, can I go ahead and have this prescription?
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I
so
mean, growing up, I mean, with me, I get a headache and it's ibuprofen.
yeah,
Ibuprofen, no big deal. Well, now you can't do that, so it's trying to figure out what works best for you. Acetaminophen, it seems to be working, thank goodness. But yeah, that's what I hear all the time too, is people just struggling with just the medications they're on, and I think it's important for everybody to know that it it makes a world of difference, and they need to make sure that they consult with their physician and make sure what they're taking over the counter, even
yeah,
when you have a cold, is acceptable.
yeah. So like far as your meal plans, like after you came out of the surgery, what your eating habits been like? Have it been any significant changes or?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I live by the drive-through. I mean, that was my go-to. And after surgery, I mean, when I came out, just to back up a little bit, when I came out, I struggled. I
Yeah.
was in the hospital for 2 days just because I couldn't get anything down.
Okay.
Before they released me, I had to drink, I think it was like 75 ounces of water, and I want to say like 12 or 16 ounces of protein shake. In my particular case, I know some people, their doctors say no protein shakes, just clear liquids, but I couldn't get it down for whatever reason. I tried and it just I wasn't throwing up or anything like that. I just couldn't physically do it. Um,
Right.
so they kept me a second day. And then all of a sudden, towards the end of the second day, I'm like, hey, when am I getting out of here? And I still couldn't do it. So I literally physically, as soon as the nurse would leave the room, I would dump it out just so I could get the heck home.
Yeah.
But after that second day, everything started to come around. Meal plan wise, I mean, it was a struggle for me just because, I'm always on the go, and I never in my entire life have really taken the time to meal prep or anything like that.
Yeah.
I've learned to just love eggs and hard boiled eggs, something that I can, put in a little cooler and take on the go. But even to this day, I mean, I don't meal prep. I'm very cautious on what I eat. And lucky for me, Jay, I can pretty much eat whatever the heck I want.
Yeah.
I've got the only thing that I found that I tried to sneak one time was like like a chicken Alfredo. I wanted that
Yeah.
white sauce, and boy, that didn't sit well. But for the most part, I've been lucky. I think I can eat whatever I want. I work out 5 days a week, so that I think helps tremendously as well. But as far as meal prepping, I should do better, to be honest, like most of us should. But I've been lucky. It's been pretty decent for me.
Oh, okay. Have you had any stalls?
Yeah, when I started working out heavily, I think I was clear to start going to the gym 6 weeks in, and I got a buddy that's a trainer, and he says, everybody stresses cardio. Get on the treadmill. Get on the treadmill, and I have yet to get on the treadmill in the year post-op, and my transformation physically has been phenomenal. I've dropped. Oh, like I said, I'm down to that 229, but I've gained, if they got a scale at the gym where it tests, your muscle mass and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And my muscle mass, I've increased almost 17 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
So taking that in consideration with the fat loss, I mean, it's crazy. And, I think for me, it's just weight training. I've no elliptical, no treadmill. I mean, I do a lot of walking anyway.
Yes, sir.
But for me, it's all been weights and free weights and bands.
Okay. Yeah, that's the same with me. Well, right about now I'm just doing like light weights, light cardio because the funny thing with me on my end, say like when I came out, it was this other guy. We had the gastric bypass the same day. And that's why it works different for different people because when we both was discharged, we talked for a bit. He had lost like 20, 30 pounds within a couple of weeks, and I was still down to like 2 or 3 pounds. I was at what 384. A week went by, I was down to like 381. I was like,
Yeah.
man, I can't just sit around. So I just started getting up and started walking. And see, that's one thing about the tool. The tool it holds us accountable. That tool will it is making you get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because with the tool, you have to help the tool to help you. Help me, help you. You take care of me, I'm gonna take care of you. Because I say, it's a tool, it's not a magic stick. As long as you work with it, it's going to work for you. And that's what it had done for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I can't agree with you more. I mean, it wasn't, the doctor originally told me 8 weeks before I could start going to the gym. And then, I was down after 6 weeks. I think I was down probably 30 pounds. And I could
yeah.
see that flappy skin under my
Uh-huh.
bicep. And I said,
Yeah.
this ain't going to happen. No, I'm not getting no grandma arms. And I called the doctor. I said, listen, I'm going to go in. I'm going to start light. I promise you. And that's when I saw my great grandma's arms and I'm saying, I'm not going to be Dolly. No way. So that's what got me motivated. But I've been, talking about stalls like you originally asked. There was a time about 8 months in where I didn't drop a single pound. I was holding that like
Yeah.
245 for probably 5 weeks. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until I went in and did the in-body test at the gym where you get on the scale where I could literally see my, my percentage body fat drop and my muscle go up. So then in my mind, it made sense. So you're going to get those stalls, but don't necessarily mean that you're not losing. And I can't stress enough, and I think Jay, you've probably said it in your other podcast too, is don't look at the scale. Just watch your
Yeah.
clothes. Find a cheap place to go get clothes because you're going to need them. And
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah. Steady going down. And that was the same with me, man, because I had bought a nice outfit from Dillard's, just for the holiday. I'm gonna go ahead and spend this money and get this, and I was able to wear it at one time. Tried it on yesterday, and I already got to give it away.
yeah, I did the same.
Yeah,
My oldest son got married and finally went out and bought a nice suit, and oh my gosh, I mean,
right.
that thing looks terrible. So yeah, I know what you mean. And That's a struggle. I mean, a lot of people, I got a friend that also went through this, and he's going out like every month and buying, all new suits for work. And I'm like, man, just figure out a way to just wear those stretchy khakis a little longer. So,
Yeah. So how your relationship be?
as far as my wife and I, or relationships with people in general, what do you mean?
Yeah, all around, with you and your wife and
I'll tell you what, part of the tool that I also use is I started doing TRT as well. And it took a while for my doctor to come around, but as a 51-year-old, I knew my testosterone level was way low,
yeah,
and I was sluggish and tired all the time. And about 3 months in, I started doing TRT, and I'll tell you what, my wife is trying to figure out where the hell I was 25 years ago. It's
yeah,
it's our relationship has never been better. It's gained myself a lot of confidence, and she, indicate I was always a confident person, but I hit it well. I'm a good talker. I was a cop for almost 20 years, so I can usually talk my way out of anything. But I struggled inside with who I was. I really
right,
truly did, and no one knew that, not even my wife. And I pretty much tell her everything. But I found I found myself again after this procedure, about 6, 7 months in, when you start getting those compliments, holy
yeah,
cow, Aaron, holy cow, what did you do? And my wife and I were out to dinner one night, and an ex-girlfriend who I dated way back, I mean, way before my wife and I had been together, and she just said, wow, you look amazing. And
yeah,
it was that point on where my wife kind of took a perk up and said, I better keep a closer eye on this guy. But everything's been great. I mean, I can't, my confidence, just me wanting to do new things. I mean, I'm going to go skydiving this spring. I've always wanted to go
okay,
skydiving, but I was too damn fat to do it.
right,
So, and I enjoyed scuba diving, and now I can do it a lot more, and have the energy to do it. Where if we'd go on a trip or something and I go scuba diving, I'd be dead tired for 3 days. And we just got back, and it was amazing. I could have gone the next day if I wanted to. So it's an amazing procedure. I wish I would have done it 10 years ago.
yeah,
I was always one of those guys, macho guys, where I can do it myself. I can do this. But there's a lot of us out there, men and women, that I think there's just hormones inside you that you're just going to be a fat body until you get rid of some of that stomach, and it just changes things, and it's been fabulous, Jay.
yeah, yeah, and it's the same with me. And like in the beginning, I was the type, I was always a big guy. And as I got older, I said, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and embrace it. Because I had this one guy. He was who I had met on the bus stop one day, and I was just moping, saying that I couldn't lose weight and just feeling sorry for myself at this particular time. Man, he was a old school guy, kind of look. You remember that show, Columbo?
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
he looked just like that guy. The curly hair, the clothes down. He was smoking a cigarette, had the trench coat. He said, "Well, let me tell you something, you bum." He said, "Stop feeling sorry for yourself. If you can't lose it, use it."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was around that time I started. I just started using it, and I was like, I can't lose this weight, so I'ma just kind of embellish who I am. And for a minute there, I was embellishing it, but at the same time, the health problems was coming. Like I was cool with the size, but I knew it wasn't healthy. Because granted, like when I was coming up, when I was young, I was healthy as an ox, even with my size, because even when I was at my heaviest, I was eating stuff I wasn't supposed to, but I was always adamant about eating my fruits and vegetables and taking vitamins, because I've been taking vitamins since forever. And I want to say, like, even, you know, with the weight, my immune system was always healthy. really never caught a cold. Really, if I had caught the flu, it didn't last long. And I always based that on just how I was taking care of myself. But the eventually the health problems started kicking in, and I said, this is, something had to be done about it because I was, I had heard about the bypass and the weight loss surgeries before, and I was one of the ones that would say, "Oh, that's the easy way out. Ain't nobody finna be cutting on my stomach." And what really brought it into perspective, I started having some heart issues, and when I went to go talk to my cardiologist, the nurse practitioner there was saying, "Hey, won't you see about having the gastric sleeve because the sleeve was brought to my attention at first." And I said, after she talked about it, a couple of the other nurses came in there and they started vouching for it. I said, well, let me go ahead and get us a try. Let me look into it. And I just went from there. That's when I started joining these groups, in the Facebook groups. And then I found because I had acid reflux so bad, I said, the bypass was going to be the best option for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, my doctor was kind of right from the get go. I mean, that was one of the first questions is, do you have acid reflux? Do you have heartburn issues? And
Yeah.
I never did. So he's like, let's focus on the sleeve then, and we'll just that's what we'll plan on, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. But
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So like, do you so like for so do you have any vitamins that you take on the regular or
Oh yeah. I was opposite you. I was never really a vitamin guy, growing up. But now I do the Flintstone, vitamins every morning. And then I do, a dissolve, it's called, oh my gosh, it's a calcium. I get it on Amazon. It's for calcium. It's a dissolvable, pretty good sized tablet that's really nice, so I don't have to
okay.
swallow it. Um, and then that's pretty much it. And all my labs have come back pretty good. So I'm fortunate that way where I'm getting the adequate vitamins off these two, where I
Yeah.
don't have to add, any other multivitamins. So I've been pretty fortunate there. But more importantly, I'm off my CPAP machine. I'm off my high blood pressure. I'm off my cholesterol meds, and I don't have to do that. And I'm actually on Thursday, I'm going back for my 1 year physical. So it's going to be the first time that my main doctor's seen me since before the surgery.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've always been with my bariatric surgeon or my nutritionist. And it's going to be interesting to see what he thinks and says after that. So I'm hoping that we can stay off the medications and just keep doing what I'm doing with the protein and the vitamins that I'm taking.
Oh, okay, cool. So speaking of CPAP machine, because I'm on that same thing, about to see if I can get taken off of that. So when you 'cause how long was you dealing with the sleep apnea?
Probably 12 years. Um, Off and on, I was one of those guys that could never really keep it on. I went through every possible mask imaginable, every
Yeah.
nasal, you know. So for the longest time, I would use it, a couple times a week, when I really thought about it or when I was really tired. But I'd only be able to keep it on for 2, 3 hours a night, and I just rip it off. But probably 10 to 12 years, it was on and again, off again. And towards the end, just before surgery, I was using it pretty frequently, not
Yeah.
every day, but a lot. And I think within probably 3 months after the surgery, my wife's like, hey, you're not using your machine and you sound amazing at night. You're not gasping, you're not snoring, you're not gagging. So I just stopped using it. I went in for a study and we're all good. So it's really helped me out.
Okay, yeah. So I'm right behind you on that one now. So I'm pretty sure you probably had the mornings too where you went to sleep with the mask on, you woke up and it was on the floor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because I always said I wasn't going to be the guy that's, an hour into work and has got the strap marks across his face. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I hated that damn thing. And you know, my wife would always say, "Hey, is Darth Vader going to make an appearance in the bedroom tonight?" So, but yeah, I'm for it. I've been lucky. I know there's a lot of people that are struggling with measuring out their food, but
Yeah.
I've been fortunate. I think I really truly feel blessed.
Right. So look, and once again, back to your eating patterns, like far as your protein, did you have to up your protein? What's your protein intake like?
So yeah, I definitely had to up my protein, especially after starting to work out. So my buddy who's a trainer, he basically says, listen, you got to get at least half your body weight in grams every day to maintain your muscle mass. So that's my goal. I use the app on my phone called Berrytastic. It seems to be the one
Okay.
that I enjoy the best. It's easy for a dummy like me when it comes to tech.
Yes, sir.
And so I like the Fairlife shakes. I drink a couple of those a day. I've tried the Premier. I've tried the Muscle Milk, and I can't do it. I think they taste disgusting. My wife brought me a Premier yesterday that was chocolate and peanut butter, and I'm a peanut butter freak.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this will be all right. And I that's the second time I've thrown up since the surgery. I
Yeah.
don't know if it was the smell or a combination smell and taste, but it was the worst damn thing I've ever tasted in my life.
Yeah.
Um, but I eat a lot of eggs. I eat a lot of chicken. I love the rotisserie chicken from like Walmart or Costco, and I just make it up into like wraps with cheese and hard boiled egg crumbles. I
Yeah.
just take hard boiled eggs and chop it up and add that to the wrap. It seems kind of weird, but it adds protein. So I've been doing right around that 120 to 160 grams a day is what I try to get. And
Okay.
at first it was tough, but because you seem like you got to eat all the time, and then
Yeah.
you're worried because you're eating. It seems like you're just grazing all the time, and that's what I've just gotten used to is I eat something like every 3 hours,
Right.
and you can't just expect to sit down and eat a meal anymore. It ain't gonna happen. My
Sure.
wife and
Right.
I go out every Tuesday night. I get my ribeye steak with my
Yeah.
vegetable, and I cut the steak into thirds right away and take 2/3 of it home, and that's what I snack on during the day. And so, but it's the cravings that get you, Jay. I mean,
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Peanut butter, or Reese's peanut butter cups. That's my weakness right now. It's
Right.
it's like that girlfriend in high school that just won't go away, and it, it's it's crazy. So it's tough, but it's all a mental game, and you just got to stick with it.
Yeah.
It's like you said earlier. It's a tool for the tool belt, and if you don't use it properly, you're just going to fade away and get back to your old ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, and one thing that I always try to tell somebody that be done just had it or getting ready to have it, don't go against your stomach because your stomach is going to win every time. Your stomach is going to tell you when enough is enough.
So true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My wife is she's an executive, so every now and then she's got vendors that take us out for dinner.
Right.
And I don't want to disrespect anybody if they're buying food. So, they when you say about food, I tried every appetizer they ordered, and my stomach was saying, "You better stop, you damn fool. You better stop."
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like the 13th little bite that finally hit me. And I'll tell you what, that's one thing, and I think you hit it definitely on the head, is when your stomach's telling you to stop, you need to stop, because that feeling of everything coming back up is not a good feeling.
Yeah.
And, I tell everybody, just use your head, be responsible, think about what you're eating. And when you eat too much, you'll never do it again.
Yeah, sure, right. Because one thing that I really, really hate, I had it twice, and that's dumping syndrome. The most horrible feeling in the world.
Yeah, I haven't had that, but I've had, thank gosh, I haven't had that, because I've heard it's miserable.
Yeah, it is because I had ate a chicken breast, the boneless chicken breast, and even it was kind of my fault because we supposed to cut them up in real small pieces, and which I did. It just wasn't small enough. Chewed a couple of them too fast, and it got stuck right here, stuck in
Yeah.
the middle. And man, started sweating. I started getting teary eyed. It was starting to come up on both ends, and about, yeah, 2 or 3 hours of the most miserable feeling of my life, man. And then my hard headed tail, a couple of weeks had went by, and I said, man, that probably was just a bad moment. Let me try it again. Same thing again. I said, okay, I can't deal with it. So I ended up having to alternate because I said, I really can't eat that much chicken. Uh, I can even the boneless chicken wings. Like I can eat some beef, but prior to that, I was kind of messing around with the vegan diet. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and use this opportunity, switch it over and become a vegan. And I've been doing vegan for about a month and a half now. Still a learning process for me
Yeah.
since I'm going full, but I'm pretty much I'm loving it. But it's the same thing as just eating regular food, just gotta be mindful how much you intake.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be sometimes, I've met a couple, I'm going to call them friends through the
Yeah,
whole Facebook group because it is
yeah,
kind of a nice, tight little group when you find those individuals that you can share stuff with. But
yeah,
I've got a buddy that he can't eat anything that he used to enjoy, like lasagna
yeah,
and like fried chicken and stuff like that. But, and the others are finding things that they enjoy. Like for me, I hate salmon. I just hate it.
yeah,
But now I'm actually starting to get a taste for it. Because I think mentally it's a perfect food for individuals such as us.
yeah,
There's I used to eat spaghetti like crazy, but I've stayed away from the carbs and that kind of
yeah,
thing. But I do splurge every now and then and make my mom's you know homemade lasagna recipe, and I just have a half a bite
yeah,
instead of a three full pieces. I just have like a half of one,
yeah,
and then I look at the other one for 3 days and throw it away. But um, so yeah, it's I think that's the biggest thing that most of us go through is trying to figure out what foods work and what don't work anymore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So look, and speaking of some of our Facebook friends, man, you ever had a couple of them that reached out to you asking for advice, and then when you give it to them, they don't listen?
Yeah. Everybody,
Yeah,
you're always going to get that in life. You're
yeah,
always going to get those people that think they know everything and
yeah,
they ask for advice and opinions, but they really don't want to hear it. It's just a process that they go through in their mind. And you can only help those that want to help themselves,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it's sad that people are that way. And especially for individuals that have gone through it, that have been around, 6, 8 months, a year, 2 years. I love talking to the guys and gals that are are 3 years post-op because I'm afraid, is my stomach going to stretch? Am I going to
Yeah,
get back to that 320 pounds? Am I going to, start eating, four double cheeseburgers at McDonald's with a large fry and a shake and a Coke,
yeah.
and it's just, it helps you reinforce that mental state.
You
So yeah,
sure right. Yeah,
absolutely.
that's the same with me. It's like, even when we losing this weight, we still got that nagging feeling in the back of our mind of deviating. If we end up deviating, how far is it going to go? And we trying our best to stay on track. And that's almost like a touch of anxiety. You kind of get some anxiety thinking about that,
Yeah,
because
sure. Yeah.
because I haven't had too many of those issues. The only time I really had a real anxiety attack was like 2 weeks after I had the surgery, because my thing was like every once in a while I would spoil myself. I would always go to either Pizza Hut or Little Caesars, and I would order two medium or large pizzas. One was the meat lover, and the other one would be just something random like a 4 cheese pizza or whatever,
Yeah.
or a vegetable. And I would get the cheese sticks. And the boneless chicken wings and the Billy Wash cherry Pepsi. That was my thing. And when I came out of that surgery, like 2 weeks later, I had wanted that pizza. And I was like, man, shit, I wish I could have that right about now. And I freaked out for about 1 or 2 minutes, but after that, I was fine. And now I don't even want it,
Yeah.
But it's just one of them things, man. Like, man, I just hope I don't get back to that, because this is the end all, the be all, the end all.
Yeah, so true. I mean, a tough thing for me was, finally, I didn't tell anybody what I was doing.
Yeah,
I was embarrassed. I mean, quite frankly, I always kind of thought I was a man's man, big macho dude, but uh, I was embarrassed to tell anybody. I mean, I didn't tell I would have told my mother, but she's been passed. But I never told my dad what I was doing.
yeah,
I didn't tell my kids. The only one that really knew was my wife, and I was just one of those guys that thought, you know what, I'm going to keep this to myself.
uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden I started losing weight. So now I'm coming up with a story,
Yep.
I went in for gallbladder and they found a tumor. And then,
Yeah,
then I started thinking, you know what, I'm going to own this. And,
yeah,
and if someone's going to judge me because I did something for myself, then I don't need them in my life.
yeah, exactly.
And since then I've owned it. I enjoy talking about it. I got a buddy right now. I bet you he's pushing 500 pounds. And I keep telling him, I said, man, you seriously got to look at this,
Yeah,
and, he works at a car dealership, and I go in and he goes, what are you doing? I said, I just want to come in and feel skinny, because he's a big boy, and
yeah,
another guy there is probably 350, 400. And I used to go there when I was fat to make myself feel good about myself because I wasn't as big as those two.
right.
And now after going through what I went through and how my life is just, I mean, I feel like a 30-year-old, Jay.
Yeah,
And I think a lot has to do with the TRT, but I feel like a 30-year-old. And I keep telling these guys that they're in their 40s. I'm like, you got to look at this. I'm not saying it's a fix all, but you should really start considering it because, I mean, he's if he doesn't change anything, he'll be dead before he's 60.
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I think a lot of people, they have a tough time, making it their own. And if anybody can take anything from what I'm saying now is just, this is for you. This is for
Yeah,
your family. And if people are going to judge you for what you're going to do or what you did do, don't waste your
yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly. Because
This is
I
for
mean,
you.
yeah, because the way I feel about it now, because at first I was just people was asking me how I'm losing it, and I just say, hey, I'm just cutting back, going to the gym, and now I'm just telling, hey, yeah, I went ahead on, I had this done, I did this
Yeah.
for me, and then what what really aggravates me, someone would say, well, all you had to do was this here, just exercise, just cut back. I did all that,
Yep.
because one of the things I learned, exhaust all of your other options first, make this the last of the last of the last. And then when you do go with it, make it count.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, a lot of people, like this big kick right now is Ozempic. Everybody's taking
yeah,
these shots, and there's so many bad negative side effects
yeah, it
that
is.
people are. I mean, it's
Yeah,
physically, I think it's way more worse than going under the knife and having this
all
procedure.
right.
The long-term effects that these people aren't thinking about is just ridiculous.
Yeah, because it's two things I've noticed because it's a pretty few of them who I've seen that then took the Ozempic shots. Number one, either they quit taking it and they pick their weight back up. And number two, a lot of them been having issues with their stomachs or their colon,
Yep.
and it's always been one of the two. It's just that's just been going the round and round thing now. And I said, okay, I'm not, because really it's just for diabetics anyway. If for the diabetics, they for certain they body is accustomed to that because of what they dealing with. Not a regular person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Another thing that people always ask me is, did it hurt? And it didn't. I had no pain. I never took a painkiller. I had some, obviously the gas is what is the problem for most people. It's the pressure. But,
Yeah.
I think 4 days in, I was out. I think I mowed the lawn. I mean, I was going back doing normal things 4 days later. And you just got a weight restriction as far as lifting. But, if you're worried about, having the surgery because you're going to have to miss 2 weeks of work, depending on what your job is. I mean, people might not even know. I mean, I know people that had the procedure done on a Friday and went back as a school teacher on a Monday and no one knew a thing.
Right.
So, but if you're a roofer or someone that works highway or street department or something like that, well, then maybe it'll be a problem. But if you're thinking about it, do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
That
do
was.
it.
Yeah, just do it and just get it over with, because I mean, if you constantly thinking about it, that means you want to go ahead and do it. You just don't know how to go about doing it. And I was the same way when I had mine. I didn't feel no pain. I felt a little discomfort the next day, but other than that, I was good. So
Yeah.
look, and I'm gonna ask you this: uh, did they get you up to walk around? After,
Immediately. I mean, that's the one thing that I didn't want to do because my pressure was so bad.
yeah,
It was I can't even explain it. It was so discomforting. But everybody always said before I went in, just get up and walk, 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 walk. And I think what helped me is just I took my walk. And then instead of coming back and laying back down, I just kind of stood there and just kind of wavered back and forth.
yeah,
And I think that helped. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is, at least for that first day, just walk, get that gas out. I never took any gas X because no one ever said anything. You
right.
know, um, people are saying that they took gas X or they got a dissolving gas X strip that they took and that helped a lot. But no one ever told me to take that stuff, so I never did that.
Right. And that was something else I wanted to ask you tonight. Now, since we done had it, what are some of the things that you know now that you wish you would have known prior to having the surgery?
I think the biggest thing is a nice, comfortable pair of clothes in the hospital. Something that's really baggy, not restrictive. I wore like a like a not a sweatpant, but more of a nylon kind of jogger type of thing, but it was
Yeah,
too restrictive. I wish I would have had something really thin that I didn't have to keep grabbing and pulling and tugging,
yeah,
because you still got, everything hooked up to you. I should have taken a better pair of slippers to wear when I was walking because I was wearing their damn stupid socks with the grippers on the
yeah,
bottom. Um, and then in the hospital, I should have taken my AirPods to listen to music, so I didn't have to constantly hear everybody in the background. Um, as far as the hospital wise, just something more comfortable. Maybe my own darn pillow if they would have let me brought it. But afterwards, just I think just being comfortable at home for those 3 days and just um, I think that's about it. I mean, there was
okay,
nothing real major that stands out for me anyway.
okay. Yeah, and it's pretty much the same for me, because I have to say I had a real excellent team. Dr. Parrish and his team, that they was excellent. Like everything that I was getting ready to go through, they let me know before I had it, because the psychiatrist that I was talking to, she had went through it too. She had the weight loss surgery, so it was real easy. That made it even more easier for me, because she had them been through it, and she was letting me know, hey, this is what you're going to expect.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah. I have an awesome team. I mean, I can't say enough how good they was to me. Still check in with them too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, the process was long, but I mean, I remember one of my nutritionist meeting it was on a Zoom call, and there was 6 other people in the group, and one lady was while we're doing that was drinking a 2-liter bottle of Orange Crush,
yeah,
and I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, why
yeah,
why are you here?
yeah,
So the biggest thing is getting your mind right.
Yeah, mind over matter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's the name of the game for this operation for everybody that's going through it and who don't went through it that just came out of it. That's about to start this journey.
Yeah, I mean, the like I said, is just do it for yourself, embrace it, take ownership of it, and get your life back. Enjoy being you at whatever age you are. You could be your 20s and want to stay 20, or if you can be over the hill like me at 51 and just want to feel like you did back when you were 20 and 30. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just getting those even 50 pounds back.
yeah,
The other day, I'll share one last thing here, Jay, and I said to myself, after a year, I'm going to go and buy an expensive pair of jeans,
yeah,
So I always enjoyed before I got too big and couldn't wear them was the BKs from the Buckle
yeah.
because even at a size 40, they had spandex, so they gave the boys some room and I could stretch being a big guy. And when I got to 42 and 44, I couldn't wear them anymore because they didn't make them that big.
Right.
So the other day I went in, my wife and I went in, she went to a different store. I go in and this young girl's helping me out. And I said, well, I think I'll take a 40, 32. And we try them on and they're way too big. So I'm like, oh, geez,
Yeah,
I'm feeling pretty proud here. And so long story short, I got down to a 36, 32. And I'm like, whoa. And just for shits and giggles, I said, give me the 32s. And they were a little snug, but I put them on and
yeah,
I broke down. I got tears in my eyes. And,
yeah.
this young 20 something, she looked at me and she says, are you all right, sir? Do I need to call anybody? I said, you don't understand. And I explained what
Right.
was going on. Pretty soon she had tears in her eyes, but don't watch the scale, watch that belt, watch
Right.
that shirt that you always used to wear, and it looks like a damn raincoat on you now. It's just, and the only thing that I wish I would have done is taken before pictures. I really didn't
Okay.
have any,
Yeah.
posed before pictures. It was always the fat guy at the pool or the fat guy on the boat or the
Right.
fat guy in the park. It was never, me just standing up in front of a wall with a nice before shot
Yeah.
where you could compare. That's the one thing I wish I would have done. And because I always see the share your transformation Thursdays on certain
Yep.
Facebook groups, and I don't have that. And that's one thing I wish I would have done.
Okay. Yeah. So anything else you want to add, Mr. Aaron, or?
Jay, keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm thankful that you reached out to me after I sent you a DM. Keep doing what you're doing because this is a great thing for everybody of every sex, every race, every
Yes,
size.
sir.
Keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
All right. Thank you. And I sure will. And I'm gonna keep you in touch, man.
Sounds good. Call me
All right.
anytime.
All right. All right, Mr. Kirby. It's good having you. So we are bariatric family. Enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you around.